Welcome to a brand new vlog, and if you're not subscribed to this channel, you should absolutely consider it because we are looking into X10 stocks. If you're new here to this channel, you don't know that we were right on Tesla. We were one of the big channels in the YouTube finance world that talked about and were right on Tesla, and now it seems we are right on the next big bet, which is space. However, though, there is some 2 days, right? It was yesterday and it is today on Wednesday where we actually have a big event, economically speaking. That is the Fed meeting. The Fed meeting is the Federal Bank of the United States by our Jerome Powell, as you know, the money printer guy. Yes, and he's meeting with his peers and they are discussing, okay, how, according to new data that they got, we will change our forecast, our wordings, our meeting reports, and so on and so forth. So after this 2-day meeting, which ends today on Wednesday, they will issue a statement. And according to the statement, they will say, for example, oh, we see that inflation is coming up, right? Which it is, right? I mean, there's no question about it. The Fed is saying that, people and economists are saying that, traders are saying that, and you can see that those are a little bit concerned sometimes. But let me show you first the guy and the guy. Really the guy, because this is Paul Tudor Jones, one of the most successful billionaire traders on the market, and he explains it as follows.
Right now, I would be a lot. Look, I think I'm the most conservative investor in the world. That's a hedge fund manager by definition. Hates risk, loves edges, loves competitive edges, does great reward risk trades. I would be really concerned about arguing that inflation's transitory, right, when I know that you've got, look, think about it. We have a just-in-time mentality. We have inventories at record low. We have demand screaming, and we have people who are really underinvested where they should be, given the valuations of a variety of financial assets.
You said if the Fed doesn't make any moves this week, that it's going to be a green light.
Well, for me, it would be a green light.
But the question is, so it may be a green light temporarily, but you're also suggesting that there's going to be a hard stop at some point, that it's going to create an even bigger problem.
Well,
and so how does a long-term investor think about that?
Listen, I have maintained, I'm so happy I don't have to run a pension fund. I don't know how you'd invest those assets when valuations for both interest rates and stocks are at, if you combine the two, they're so overvalued. They're at 100-year highs. I don't know what you do. I know one thing I'd want to do is the one thing that can hurt that is inflation. I'd have as many inflation hedges on as I possibly could. I sit on, the investment committee of these not-for-profits, and it's really difficult to try to explain to some of the board members of our not-for-profits, gee, maybe now's not the best time to be invested in a variety of finance. Maybe we should own commodities at this stage of the game. Right. Can I just say one last thing? The December 2018 meeting, if you think about that meeting that the Fed had with pretty much the same board makeup, they had a lot of incoming data between that meeting and the one prior to that. The stock market was down 12%. GSCI was down. Commodities were down 20%. The credit markets were frozen. But they went on and hiked because they were locked in to this linear belief that I can have a forecast and that we should stay with it. That predictability was more important than reactivity. So I think they had the same, and 7 months later, they had to reverse course and take that back. I think we're confronted with exactly the same situation right now.
Let me just translate what he means. So he basically says, and I think this is the overall market characteristic right now, nobody will make big bets before today, all right? They will see, okay, what the Fed is doing, because the Fed has this huge bazooka of financial instruments, but also possibilities to have tools to make the inflation not that hard so far, okay? So what does this mean? They have the interest rate, which is like the big bazooka that they have. And usually when they say, oh, if there is any grain salt of chance that they will raise interest rates. Currently, the market and the Fed sits somewhere around 2023, depending on the environment. But it could get a little bit earlier when the Fed really sees, wow, the inflation goes a little bit out of hand, let's make the money a little bit more expensive. And all the factors that are out there, and the tutor said, the huge demand. Everyone wants to go out and spend money right now, right? Everybody was on lockdown and everyone wants to spend money, go on holidays, crazy times. On the other side, you had also incentives by governments which gave people money, like for example, the $1,200 check that people spent, according to statistics, on investments, on stocks, and so on. So it was not really to cover their costs, yes, of course, as well, but they had like this extra check and said, okay, let me throw a little bit into Bitcoin, let me throw a little bit into momentum stocks and GameStop and AMC space, and so on and so forth. And if you're seeing this makes me a little bit inconvenient, because if you are looking into the stock market, most stocks compared to many years of track record are a little bit overvalued. All right. Then you have one specific type of stocks that is overperforming, and in my personal opinion, it's the story stocks. There is a very nice interview by Shamas Palihapitiya who exactly compares Tesla shares and space shares. And this is actually this thumbnail. If you want to go into this video, it's very interesting. It got many views on my channel, so check it out. So he explains that the story stocks are actually quite interesting in times like these, because people want to have this parabolic growth, which they barely can at overvalued assets, plus have the huge opportunity that, space, Tesla, all of these huge runners with a great story on the stock market can overperform easily, and can overperform because of retail investors currently jumping this boat as well. So all of that said, I want to now go into the next category, which is Jamie from JP Morgan, the CEO, because he has also a little bit of concerns about the inflation. He actually had an article in CNBC where he talks about how he put a lot of money into, cash reserves right now. They have over $500 billion on their balance sheet. And he believes that if inflation is not transitory, which means it doesn't come and go, but stays over a longer time, there is the Fed have to make changes on the interest rates, and then we should have like a correction. Therefore, he hopes to have a lot of money. So you can see that Tudor, Jamie from JP Morgan, all are a little bit concerned. But what does it really mean for space? Well, let me explain it to you in the conclusion of this video. But before we diving into that, I want to emphasize you can be part of this community by getting the membership of this channel. Just go below the video and you will see a button by YouTube which says join. If you join there and get the Real Wolf or the Ultimate Wolf membership, you will pay to YouTube a specific amount and you will get access to our Discord chat where we're talking 24 hours about our stock. So check it out. It's really worth very much value for very low cost. So check it out and let's dive into the conclusion of this video. Okay, and here's the deal. The deal is that Space is a company that is valued on what they have done in the past and what is the opportunity in the future. Now, to be able to sustain in the future, I try to say it in a very simple form. You are basing your model on a situation that is currently here, right? Like cheap money, further growth, capital intense business for getting, the right financial means for the build up of an infrastructure and so on and so forth. So basically you see currently an inflated valuation if you're considering any form of fundamentals. Okay, this company has no revenues, it's still in the concept phase, and it's still worth between, on a given day between $5 and $10 billion. So you can see here, if there's a kind of market correction, you can imagine that people are saying, wait a second, I have an investment into space and I have an investment into Apple. I know that Apple makes huge amount of money. They grow still. They have great products, great brands. They're a little bit overvalued considered, a couple of other factors, right? But then you are having space, which has no revenue, and basically, right? They have so much things in the future, so many potential, and also great opportunity, but it's really still a moonshot, right? So the people say, okay, we rather take our money out of space or more out of space than Apple. And this is the problem. So momentum stocks or futuristic stocks or very high, let's say, stocks that are very, very high dependent on financing, which was for many, many years Tesla, the way they had, huge amount of cash burn and money burn and liabilities over the years that, you just were dependent on cheap money as well, right? So, these reasons might make sure that if the Fed today doesn't say that they, doing something against the inflation, or there will be any indications that the market likes, it could mean that space will be one of the most losers. However, I still stay in space fully invested because this is for once a great opportunity to put more money into it. And secondly, you have to imagine that, this company is very depending on news. So whatever the market is doing, let's say the market is bad and the stock is going down 3 to 5%, if there's any news which we expect to come any minute now for the next test flight, the stock can go up 20%. So I am willing currently to sacrifice 3 to 5, 10, 20% with the idea back in mind that the summer will be absolutely incredible for Virgin Galactic. So you see here, it's a great trade-off, and that's why I stay fully invested. But keep in mind that because of the Fed, the space stock can crash maybe a little bit more than other stocks on the stock market in the next couple of days.